Hey guys, so what do you guys think of blame? Do you find yourself blaming others, blaming yourselves, blaming life more than you think is healthy? Or does it feel justified? I mean, most likely you have some valid reason to blame something. It was your responsibility. Life created this, therefore it's that to blame. My parents, of course, they did this to me. They did certain things and it made me a certain way, and that's why I am the way that I am. And then maybe you even blame yourself for that. And blame can be a really heavy, constant pain in the ass, pain in the heart. And I'm not sure if it really leads anywhere, because it can go on forever. You can find every rational reason to place a blame on something. And it kind of makes sense. Like, oh, well, if there's a universe, something created and they're responsible, so they're to blame. Or if my parents did this to me and it made me feel this way, they're to blame. And it scarred me and I'm going forward and they're to blame for my reasonings. And you could say that maybe on a logical reason that's valid, but is it actually true? Like, can you prove that life, people are accountable? Like, did they have volitional choice? And this may require you to really look into, well, what do I believe is choice? What do I believe is volitional? Because there's lots of sciences out there that are showing that there's something called a brain that influences decision making, and this brain is influenced by environmental factors such as growing up in certain societies and having certain kinds of things taught to us, and then as a result we react in certain ways before we even really are conscious of it. So who's to blame? What's to blame? You say, oh well, there was a god or a thing bigger than all this that created these things. That would be the foundational thing to blame, because that's how blame works. If you create it and you do it, you're to blame. And again, that's a idea that you have of what choice and blame and accountability mean, right? I mean, it's your ideas, it's not someone else's. I mean, sure, you may find people who side with you, but there's plenty of people who don't side with that view. So it may make you wonder, well, what view is there? Like, what's the actual view? Is there an actual view? There may not be an actual view, like a view to see all views from the right point of view. And you may never know, right? Maybe you could feel like you know, but you don't know if you'll ever know, right? How do you know you'll know about there being a view or not a view? I mean, maybe someone told you it's there and you can find it, but you don't really know. You can maybe trust, you can maybe believe, you can maybe you can't do anything. I don't know. This is a video just to like open up the thought process, open up the point of view of what is or is not or is neither. Because, again, as I said in the beginning, blame seems to be valid when there's actually somebody or something to blame. But when you don't know if either of that really exists or has a foundational proved case, then really, like, how can you blame when you don't even know if the blame is valid? And you could say hate and blame kind of go together, because if you blame somebody and you feel like there's a reason for your blame and there's a reason they're accountable, you can hate them. But if you can't really know, then you're kind of just you're in the process of life with the kind of unknown of them and you and interaction, and it may take the edge off of blaming and shaming and feeling like, yeah, you know why they are the way they are. You know why life is the way it is. You know what life is. And maybe there's this creeping thing going on in the back of your subconscious or experience. Like, well, then what is? What is? What is then? And that's not a bad place to be. Like an open well, then what is? But definitely, if you start to find yourself, well, that means there's nothing. Well, if you can't know anything, then it's pointless. And if you can't know a point or anything, it's crazy. It's meaningless. But again, that's more the same kind of believing that was happening with blame. Like you're believing something. You're believing something as is the way it is. It's not. This message is not that either. And then maybe you're really kind of an argumentative person crafting. You're like, well, how do I know your message is not a message? Exactly. You could say this message eats the message, because it's not a message trying to prove anything in particular. It's not even trying to prove that you can't prove anything. It's not a message to prove you can't prove, or to prove that there's nothing you can prove. It's a message that eats itself, and hopefully leaves you in a place of awe and really not knowing or not knowing. It's just it's you're here. You're listening. But what is listening if I don't know what listening is? There's some crazy thoughts that can come up in this space of really not knowing into infinitum. But again, any kind of thing you get caught up in, like, well, what does anything mean, is still getting caught up in what does anything mean? Well, what's the point? Well, getting caught up in what's the point? So yeah, again, there's not a conclusion to the video or the message or life or what to do or what not to do, or to blame or to shame, to get angry at because you have a right. But hopefully it brings up the questions of like, well, why would I want to continue suffering in that way if I don't really know it has a foundational proof to begin with? All right, that's the conclusion of the video. Hopefully something changed or shifted. If not, then that's what it seems like, I guess. And I hope you have a good day. All right, take care. Bye.